Hey, we're back on the slow train to Travers, and first stop today is Paris, France, to pick up a passenger, Mark Cramer, noted handicapping author who joined us last time on the train. His latest book is Urban Everesting. Tells you how you can climb Mount Everest without actually going there. And it's a celebration of human energy and the benefits of walking, hiking, and how it can improve not only your health, but your thinking and any number of other things. Mark, welcome back to the Slow Train to the Travers. Nice to have you.
Hey, Roger. It's great to be aboard.
All right. Well, I kind of broke a promise. I said we'd do this one walking, but we're doing it sitting because of mostly technical limitations. But you'll be happy to know I did the first segment of the fastest 2 minutes in handicapping last week, and I did that while walking my dogs. Yeah. And picked the winner. So there's a case in point, I guess.
I tried to walk across the ocean to get there, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah, that's a dangerous attempt there. So we're going to look at the Jim Dandy Stakes at Saratoga today. Saratoga is a place you've been once or twice.
Yeah, that's my home territory. I was born in Schenectady and hung out in Albany. And when I had family there, I made a yearly trip to Saratoga. I sort of missed the place, and I will be back. I'll be back. But in the meantime, I watch Saratoga live stream every day. Yeah,
and I noticed you've got some Saratoga gear on there.
Oh, there it is. This is a Funny Side T-shirt, which I, from back in 2003 or 4, I don't remember, but this is the first time I've worn it. I was saving it for a useful occasion, and after almost 2 decades, I have a cause to use it.
That's great.
It's a retro fashion statement. First time I've ever done a fashion statement live.
There are a lot of firsts that we're doing here on this segment. So you were talking about having an Eclipse Award for fans. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, this Eclipse Award is Colonel E. Edmund Clips, who was a race goer many years ago. And so we're naming the Eclipse Award after him. And there are several categories. One category, which I hope to win myself, is how many racetracks you've ridden the bike to. So I've had over 30 racetracks where I've ridden the bike to the track. So I'm challenging somebody to beat me on that one. But the main prize, I think, is going to go to Tim Herboth and his wife, Tracy, who have attended more than 50 racetracks around the world. And they're still going strong. And they may get, I wonder if Monmouth with and without the whip will count as 2 separate tracks. But these guys are amazing. But the award here isn't how many tracks they've been to, but how they got there. Because every track, they either walk to it or they take public transportation, which also involves human energy because you have to walk to the train, walk from the station to the track. And I think they may have actually, for the St. Moritz races in Switzerland in the snow, I think they actually cross-country skied to get to the track. So this Eclipse Award is the most tracks you've arrived at using human energy.
That's a trophy worth sporting on your mantelpiece there. We'll have to come up with some appropriate prize.
Tim and Tracy, they are exponents of human energy at the racetrack, and Tracy, in fact, once did a charity climb in Chicago scaling one of those high rises. Who knows how many stories that it had? I think it was the old Standard building. So they're advocates of human energy, and they combine human energy with making good decisions at the track. We walked together to Saint Cloud here in Paris.
Oh yeah, how nice. Yeah, and what a great way to celebrate the equine athleticism that you're viewing with a little bit of human athleticism and energy.
Well, I think also, for making decisions at the track, we look at a race like the Jim Dandy, for example, and say, what am I going to do with this race? This looks like a race set aside for the Phantom Plunger to arrive to make a show bet on essential quality. But my friend and colleague, Frank Catolo, and I observed him many a time, would look at the race, look at the board, look at all the possibilities, but he would do it on his feet. I never saw him sit down at the track. Even when he was eating at the track, he was still standing up, and he was a great decision maker. So there were times when he would find, even in a race like this, he might find a crazy second horse in the exacta, or he would find a second favorite of his in some horse, or a third favorite, and he would realize that the odds differential was such that it was worth playing the third favorite instead of his top pick. And he did this on his feet. And I think that it's the old cliche of thinking on your feet. And I think it works at the racetrack, and it's a way of inspiring people to go to the track instead of staying home and making bets in your pajamas in front of the computer screen.
Yeah, it's quite a different experience. I can remember being at the races and actually feeling a little self-conscious about starting out over at the saddling area and the walking ring, and then walking over to the rail and watching the horses as they took to the track, and then walking back to the grandstand to think about things or wager. But it's actually the amount of information that you take in, either consciously or not, really helps. In the saddling ring, you might notice a horse standing sore. In the walking ring, you might notice a horse with a particularly good amount of energy, or one short stepping. And to bring all that together, it seems like walking around. I mean, people walk around to clear their head, right? When they get stressed out, and I get up and say, I got to clear my head, and they get up and walk. And it's kind of, right. I think, the same thing that happens when you've got all this information you're taking in at the racetrack, either on paper or around you. Getting up and walking and moving around, it helps you process it.
Yeah, well, another friend whose wife didn't like him playing the horses, and he used to go to fitness clubs, and she one day she said, well, you weren't at the fitness club today. And he said, yeah, well, I went to the track. I got all my exercise at the track. I didn't have to go anymore. We save our subscription now.
Getting my steps in and making money. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So any thoughts on the Jim Dandy to kick us off here on the handicapping segment?
Well, the question that I have here is, after Essential Quality wins this race, and when we're handicapping the Travers, because we are on the train to the Travers, right?
Right. Yeah.
How are we going to value this victory of Essential Quality? Are we going to say, well, it was a walk in the park and it doesn't count? Or are we going to say, well, he had a prep over the track? But this is just, if he doesn't win this race, then suddenly everything's up for grabs as far as 3-year-old champion is concerned.
Yeah, that's for sure. As I looked at the field, I was counting the number of graded stakes winners. There are no other grade one stakes winners in the race. It's a short field to begin with, and the only two horses to win graded stakes this year both won grade three stakes. Nothing much of note. So class wise, he really has it over this field, and it's pretty obvious to everyone. The one thing that you might think I'm crazy here, Mark, but the horse I keep looking at is number 2, Mask Parade, who seems to be really the speed of the race, and has handled pretty much every step up in class since breaking maiden.
Yeah, well, Ohio Derby, I don't know. In my memory, it's not helping me to see if any Ohio Derby winner ever came back to win the Travers. But yeah, he's 3 for 6 lifetime, but he's the second choice in the morning line too, I believe. Correct?
He might be 4 to 1. Yeah, so right. It's not like you're going to get a big reward for taking that big chance against Essential Quality.
The improvement candidate I found here is I didn't find him. He was already there, but Dr. Jack, the one horse. This is a perfect space between races for Dr. Jack. Pletcher has won this Jim Dandy 5 times, and the Pegasus was his stakes debut. He'd only raced twice before, and so he has a right to improve. He did get off a tad slowly, and he made a couple of moves in the stretch, like it told us, well, this guy really wants to improve. Finally, he faded to 3rd, but looks like of all these horses, this is the horse that is most likely to make an improvement.
Yeah, and in that race, it was not a graded stakes race, but the winner was Mandaloon, who we now know is a legitimate grade 1 horse, and he ran with Mandaloon for most of that race. So he's got a few positives in his corner there.
Yeah, the other horses, I don't know what to think. I mean, there's a jockey change on number 4, Keep Me in Mind. He gets Rosario, and he was 4 wide in the Ohio Derby. He hit the gate in the Preakness. This is one of those horses where he's got excuses going back. The Book of Job type of horse. And so with the jockey change to Rosario, might make a difference. He might improve.
Yeah, I think that's an enormous upgrade in rider there to Rosario. And having watched Rosario battle Rafael Bejarano in Southern California for many jockey titles, he put in some thrilling come from behind rides. He's great at timing that late charge, and this horse has been firing bullets at Saratoga in the morning. He's got 3-4 furlong workouts in a row that are just smoking.
Then we have Wayburn. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Who also has a bullet workout with a breeze. When you see a horse have a bullet and he's breezing, and he does have a lot of tactical or early speed, and so Wayburn is a legitimate horse, but I just have difficulty seeing any of these get past Essential Quality.
Yeah, the only, so you were asking earlier, how would you evaluate this race? And in my book, The Lazy Bettor's Guide to Kentucky Derby, what the determination really comes down to is how fast a pace can they handle and still keep going late. Mm-hmm. And that's still the one question mark I have about Essential Quality is you look at his half times and they're all around 112. except the Kentucky Derby, where he was on the pace, but in a much faster pace, 1:11.1, but then he didn't win. So that's why I keep coming back to the 2-horse Mask Parade. In only his 4th start lifetime, he set a pace of 1:11.3 in his maiden special weight victory, and he came home very strong in that race at the fairgrounds. And the strength of that maiden victory you can see in his next 2 starts, where he moved up to a non-winners 1 optional claimer and blew the field away by 11 lengths. He then moved into a graded stakes race, was on the pace, a much slower pace, but he was on it all the way, and pulled away, was pulling away at the finish line. He only won by half a length, but so that's why he's of particular interest to me, because if the pace comes up here around 1:11, 1:11.1, I'm pretty confident he can handle it. And I'm not sure what that's going to do to essential quality. He's a bit more of a grinder and late runner. So this distance isn't exactly in his wheelhouse. He's probably best at 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. So I may actually take a shot here at Masquerade.
Well, you're more
controlling
courageous
the
than I
pace. Well, courageous is one word for it.
Well, what about Dr. Jack? He's 12-1 on the morning line, and he was going ahead of Mandaloon and staying. Well, the pace was slow, so that's the problem in that race. Dr. Jack was just behind the slow pace, and so the fact that we don't know what's going to happen to Saturday with a faster pace.
Yeah, and that's the question mark with him. He certainly has the pedigree and the connections and the rider who can, which all kind of suggest grade 1 possibilities there. But it is a bigger question mark. But that's why you're getting double-digit odds there. So yeah. So yeah, and for me, I guess the question comes down to Mask Parade at 4-1. Is that worth taking a shot at in this situation? It'd be a lot more. I'd be a lot more definitive about it if he were 8-1 morning line or 10-1 morning line, but probably not going to get anything close to that on.
Can you imagine
day.
the show prices if the Phantom Plunger fails, and for some reason Essential Quality, who was 4th place and the only time he didn't win,
right?
decides that it's only a walk in the park? The show prices for these other horses would be astounding.
Yes, they would be, especially a 6-horse field. Yeah, he's going to have 90% of the show money on him. So I don't know. Did you take a look at any of the stakes races preceding or after the Jim Dandy in this card?
Well, I actually looked at the 2. One of my specialties is maiden turf races, and I looked to race 4 and race 6. Race 4 is maiden claiming, and race 6 is straight maiden special weight. But in fact, there was no single horse in either of those races that had a special pedigree. Now, this is tough for me because I see a maiden race on the turf, and I want to bet it. And I'm going to have to tell myself that I have to just stay clear of these 2 races, because no horse excels in pedigree. Maybe you found something in race 4 or race 6 that would warrant a bet, but I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And I didn't look at those races very closely. I was kind of focusing on the stakes races that day. I did look at race 7, which is a non-winners 1 allowance on the turf. And there's a French shipper in there. He is the 10-horse Drawn to Race. He last raced at your local track. It's Saint-Cloud.
Saint-Cloud, right?
Yeah. So he's coming out of an allowance, $40,000 allowance race there where he ran third, getting Lasix for the first time. Um, and I'm not familiar with the pedigree. It's German.
Well, tell me this: did he? I don't have the form in front of me at this moment, but the key factor I have for the shippers is if they have early speed in France and then they go to the United States. And the reason for that is because early speed is sort of a negative bias for a horse. It's harder to win if you're up front. And usually in the running lines, when they go to the States, it'll say raced early. And if he did have early speed, then that would make him a good candidate for improving when he goes to the USA.
Yeah, there are. I have the BRIS form, and they do not give comments, so I'm unable to answer that question about early.
Yeah, well, I'll get
speed.
the regular form afterwards and check it out. But I mean, if you find a horse, any foreign horse, but especially in France, who was running early in his races and did not win, that horse doesn't even have to run early in the USA. He could stalk the pace and improve. I think there was a Arlington Million winner, Spirit One, back a number of years, who had that pattern, and he won at a good price. And I think that this factor continues to work with foreign shippers.
Yeah, it's something I'll definitely keep an eye on. But you know, there seems to be a shift in purse values. It used to be the United States had the highest purse levels in the especially for graded stakes races, and you'd get a lot of shippers. That seems to have diminished somewhat. Has the gap? Have you noticed the gap closing, or the power shifting to where European graded stakes races are now worth as much or more than a lot of U.S. Turf races?
Well, I've seen here in France that purses have been pretty high for the quality of the horses in those races. But I really, comparatively speaking, I can't say whether we're catching up or not.
Okay. Yeah, it seems you used to see a lot more European shippers, especially in non-winners allowance races coming in. I know James Quinn in the Handicappers Condition Book, I believe, points out that in a non-winners one allowance race, the European shipper is the ideal horse because usually the one race they've won, assuming they're in a non-winners 2 lifetime allowance race, the one race that the European horse has won has usually been an allowance or a stakes race. They don't tend, the better horses don't tend to win a maiden race. They go right into stakes competition. So coming into an allowance race in the U.S. is actually a class drop, even though the purse level might be higher.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other factor to look at, which you can look it up, is the trainer of the shipper, even if it's changing trainer in the States, but who was the trainer of the shipper? And so when a shipper comes in, this works really good for Breeders' Cup races. I look at the last 20 races of that trainer to see whether the trainer of the shipper has been hot or cold of late. And you can get that by clicking on Racing Post and clicking the name of the horse, and they'll have the last 20 races of that trainer. Just click on the name of the trainer after you get the name of the horse, and you'll see the last 20 races of that trainer, and you'll know whether the trainer's been hot or cold. And if it's been a hot trainer, that'll also be another mark in favor of the horse.
That's great information. Racing Post is where you can get those statistics.
Yeah, just go to Racing Post, click the name of a horse, and they'll have Racing Post race record and the name of the horse. Even if you don't click on Racing Post, if you say race record and the name of the horse, Racing Post usually comes up anyway, And right there's a wealth of information about, and it's in English. Okay.
No translation necessary. Great. Well, that's I'm going to go out on a limb here, Mark, and I'm gonna go with the 2-horse masquerade in the Jim Dandy.
Well, Roger, now that you said that, I may not withdraw all of my CD money that's earning 0.02%, 02%, and put it all on show for essential quality. I may decide not to do that. You got me worried there.
Talk you off the ledge there.
I'm not the fan of Bud Ray.
So, yeah, well, there's still 2 other placings once Masquerade wins, right? You can finish second or third. Well, thank you, Mark, for joining us again. And the Travers coming up at the end of August, I guess will probably be the next time we do this segment. And
well, I hope all of you who are listening today will come aboard on the train to the Travers next time, because it's going to be an exciting race.
And until then, I hope you all go visit your local racetrack and walk around, check out the premises, and have some fun, cash some tickets. And
you'll cash tickets if you're betting on your feet.
Great advice. All right, that wraps it up. Thank you for being here. For more information on what Mark's up to and what we're up to, you can go to lazybettorusa.com or hit subscribe here on the YouTube channel. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thank you for watching. A little late breaking news here. I mentioned to Mark the 7th race at Saratoga was a 9-winners 1 allowance on the turf, and that it had an entrant who was first-time U.S. coming in from France. Mark looked a little further into that and is kind enough to share his thoughts. The horse did show early speed at Saint-Cloud, which is one of Mark's angles for European turfers in the U.S. Saint-Cloud is not very kind to turf, and so they moved to the U.S. turf courses, which favor speed. Makes sense. Also, at Saint-Cloud, in those races, they were 2 key races where many of the entrants came back to win, or if they didn't win, they were in the money in much higher stakes races. So Mark considers Drawn to race on the outside there in race 7 as a live play. He was kind enough to share his thoughts. That's on Jim Dandy Day on Saturday, Saratoga.